Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Wednesday, June 19th, 2019. Thanks for tuning in to our evening edition of the Grand Solar Minimum News Update. Here at the Grand Solar Minimum News, where we lay out all the links to our articles that we discussed tonight. Well, let's get started with some space weather. Solar wind sitting at 328.8 kilometers per second with a density of 9.7 protons. Taking a look at SPACEWEATHER.com, and we are checking out the sun. It is blank once again. That's 31 days in a row without a sunspot. 104 days for 2019. 62% of the year without sunspots, and the TCI continues to stay at the 3.58 levels. So continuing to see a cooling trend in the TCI reading so far. Let's go over to our space weather section here at the GrandSolarMinimum.com. Very quiet sun, folks. It's been a KP of 1 for about 3 days now. One reading came in at a 0 for a brief period of time. Let's go ahead and check out the SDO in motion as I tried to show you guys earlier today. That coronal hole that will be affecting our magnetic field tomorrow should be weak. Nothing really to look forward to, nothing impressive anyway. And really looking at our sun, guys, in the eastern limb, we might have a slight coronal hole developing, about to be Earth facing, but a very small region. There's nothing on the outer eastern limb that would indicate any kind of large active region or even any kind of major coronal holes. The sun is just kind of holding steady and staying quiet. So the question has to be raised now. We're at 31 days. I made the comment the other day about a possibility of seeing 35 spotless days or more, and that active region in the negative 180 is still quite a few days away. So we're on our way to breaking that. And actually somebody left a comment telling us how long the longest we went without a sunspot was, I believe, 92 days in a row. Forgive me, I don't remember the year, but it was, I believe it was somewhere about 100 years back. So interesting fact there, but we have not seen a sunspot in 31 days. And right now, unless something just rapidly develops on the face of the disk right now, I don't see any sunspots for at least another 10 to 15 days, the possibility of one anyway. And take a look at TSI. Yes, that's right. Finally getting some data back, and very up and down here, but right now we're currently sitting at a 1360.77 for the TSI reading on June 10th, 2019. So it's been a while since we've had access or even readings from this particular website. Hopefully we're back on track once again, but there is still a little bit of missing data, so there's always that to look at as well. And taking a look now, some of our articles worldwide. Strong and shallow 6.3 earthquake hits Papua, Indonesia. Kind of lined these up here a little bit, but a strong and shallow earthquake registered by the USGS as a 6.3 hit Papua, Indonesia at 17:24 UTC on June 19th. The agency is reporting a depth of about 7.5 miles. The epicenter was located about 156 miles west of Apura, population 62,000 people. 7,000 estimated felt strong shaking, 44,000 felt moderate, and 237,000 people felt light shaking. There are no reports of any damage, injury, or deaths at this time, but just wanted to add it to our long list of earthquake that we've talked about here over the past several days. We are looking at right now several 6.0 or higher earthquakes just in the past 7 to 10 days, along with volcanoes going off behind that. And we are talking about Popo, Sinabung, Agung, Merapi. I'm sure I'm forgetting others as well, but we've had an increase lately in volcanic eruptions of 30,000 feet or higher. And you know, the longer I do this, the more I hear different numbers for how high does these ash plumes have to go to be effective as far as the climate goes. And I've always heard 50, 55,000, but I read something today where they're saying 32,800 feet is enough to affect climate conditions locally or regionally. So still something to think about. How many regional climates are going to be affected by these earthquakes, the CO2 release from those, and as well the volcanic eruptions. And just a report on these clusters over here, the strong and shallow 6.4 today as well, and the Chromatic Islands in New Zealand. We first started talking about this, I think, last week. This is the 31st earthquake to hit the area since June 13th, 2019. And down at the bottom of this, there is a great chart that shows us exactly what our magnitudes have been since this all started. Let's start at the bottom here. June 13th, the first earthquake was at 5.3, and then an aftershock of 4.8. And then this is where we started to get the rocking a little bit, a 7.2 that was 34.4 kilometers deep. 5.3, 5.0, 4.6, 5.0, 5.5, and then a 6.3 followed by a 5.5. This is on the 16th. Another 5.5 on the 16th, and then we fast forward to the 17th, mainly in the 4.9 region, a 6.0 on the 17th, and closes off the 17th with a 5.4. And then today and yesterday, we are seeing upticks of earthquakes at 5.0 or higher. So what we've seen so far is a couple of strong earthquakes followed by some 4.9s, and then some eventually lower 5 aftershocks. And then today with the 6.4, it'll be interesting to see what we continue to see as far as aftershocks for these earthquakes. Are they going to stay higher or in the same range as the 5-point magnitudes? Again, thanks to the Watchers.news for the article and the statistics. The links will be left on our website here at thegrandsolarminimum.com. Let's go back to Watchers for some destructive floods in Trabzon, leaving 10 people dead or missing in Turkey, so they're not really sure. Heavy rain hits parts of Turkey on June 18th, 2019, causing destructive flooding in the northeastern province of Trabzon. At least 5 people were killed, 5 are still missing, and 3 were injured after heavy rain hit Trabzon's Irakli district on June 18th, causing 2 streams to overflow, according to the data provided by the country's Interior Ministry. Firefighters were immediately dispatched to the scene but had difficulty reaching the affected areas as debris brought by the floods blocked the roads. Floods and landslides destroyed homes and cars and seriously damaged at least 1 school building. Agriculture and Forestry Ministry said pipes and hydroelectric plant exploded following the floods and landslides. More heavy rainfall is expected in the days to come. And here is a collection of some footage of how bad the floods, but not only the floods, but the actual overflow of debris that was just everywhere. This guy here is waist deep in debris and water. If you look to the right, you'll see a picture here. The road is being pretty much driven away by the floodwaters. Fallen trees. Usually, hopefully nobody was in these cars when this tree had fallen. I mean, it pretty much mangled this van. So my guess is that hopefully it was just parked on the side of the road. But plenty of flood footage, fallen trees, fallen power lines, you name it. And just another region of the world, Turkey. We showed you guys footage from Spain, Portugal, northern Italy, everywhere. And Turkey, I think this is the second time we've talked about Turkey with massive floods like this. I mean, guys, look at the watermarks on these houses right here. You guys can see it. So to me, this is indication of reoccurring flooding here when we see the watermark of the last big flood they had there. That or the footage was captured after the floodwater started to recede, but this looks like it's pretty much raging here. So either way you look at it, folks, this is not the first time they've been hit with these kind of floods, unfortunately. And just awful destruction once again causing these rushing waters, these flash floods, this heavy rain, and then of course after it causes major damage, there's still talk of more heavy rain on the way for the region over the next several days. Very rare anticyclonic tornado hits Dual County in South Dakota. A rare anticyclonic tornado touched down about 5.5 miles northeast of Esteline, South Dakota, during the evening hours on June 15, 2019. The EF0 tornado lasted less than a minute and knocked down 7 trees at a farmstead. It was moving in an easterly direction, tossing tree branches to the south and west from the group of trees that were knocked down. One of the trees hit the corner of the shed and bent part of the metal overhang on that shed. We got a little footage here of this tornado. You see it here, folks. Based off the radar data, damage report, and a Facebook video of the tornado occurred northeast of Esteline, appears to be very rare anticyclonic tornado, which means that it was rotating in a clockwise direction. Yeah. Very rare tornado indeed. In the northern hemisphere, nearly all the tornadoes occur at a rate at counterclockwise direction. Estimates indicate that maybe only 1% of tornadoes are anticyclonic, like the one that occurred on June 15th. The storm split off from the parent thunderstorm and moved easterly, while the parent storm continued to move southeast. Meteorologists define these types of storms as left-moving since they move to the left of the storm that they split from. Almost like a spin-off of a TV program. This storm was like the bastard child of the storm, and because of that, it spun up a tornado that went in clockwise direction. I'd like to do some more research about these and find out what the correlation and why we saw one. I've never heard of one until today. Those of you that are in the chat tonight, enlighten Mari if you've seen this type of weather before, or if any of you actually know the results of how many of these we actually get in a year, 5-year period, or even a decade. I'm curious to know, is it during solar minimums, or is it just a random thing that we can't pin solar activity on? This is just one of these freak occurrences where the weather conditions were just favorable for this kind of weather. Who knows? Maybe some of you do in the chat. So if you do, let me know. All right, guys, sit tight. Be right back.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.